Practice debut with the Green Bay Packers Monday. It was a tumultuous ending in Dallas with lots of talking both from the media and owner Jerry Jones. But in the end, Parsons was traded and agreed to a 4-year, $188 million contract with the Packers with $136 million in total guarantees, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. A great deal by Micah's agent, David Mulugheta. Let's hear what Jerry had to say about David's role when Stephen A. sat down with him just a few weeks ago.
There's right now about 3 entities involved in the Micah Parsons deal that really count, and that's not to dismiss everything about the organization and the Cowboys.
What are the 3 entities?
Micah, me, sitting out there, and about a mile back is that agent. These are the 2 to get it done. Always has. And these are the 2 that be sitting there working it out when it hits the fan, when it's not between the lines on that contract. That's why I'm going to do it.
We now welcome in the man himself, Forbes' #1 most powerful NFL agent of 2025, David Mulugheta. David, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We so appreciate it. I want to dive right in. Can you walk us through your timeline on how things unfolded with the Cowboys and Jerry Jones?
First off, appreciate you guys having me. And Steven, I appreciate you learning how to say my last name after 3 years.
Yes.
But no, as far as the contract, for us, this kind of moved at a normal pace initially. We were open to doing a deal, as we stated, with the Cowboys after his 3rd season. And at the time, the Cowboys had other deals to do. That Dak Prescott was coming up, their quarterback, their leader, as well as CD. So we knew that we would have to wait our turn. So after his 3rd season, after his 4th season, we asked again. They were ready to start negotiating a deal. And at that time, they told us they would let us know when they were. And for some reason, that never happened with me.
David, thank you for being on the show, which, by the way, props to you because, Lord, you're hard to get. I had to ask you for months, for crying out loud. It took me months to get you on the show because this is not something that obviously you're prone to do. So I really, really appreciate you coming on the show. Jerry says that essentially when he made a contract offer, he brought up some stick it up your ass comment that came out of your mouth, the mouth of the representation for Micah Parsons. I want you to address that and whether or not there's any truth to what he articulated to myself, to Michael Irvin and others in regards to that.
Yeah, it might be hard for some to believe, but I don't think I've ever used that phrase in my life. And in my 40-plus years, I definitely wouldn't use it with somebody that I have to work with or somebody that I plan on working with in the future. So, no, that wasn't true. And it was a misrepresentation of what I said. What I did tell them was if they believed that the contract was already finalized and they were sending it over to me to be rubber stamped, then, they probably shouldn't send it over.
David, what are we missing here? Jerry Jones is of the mindset that there was a negotiation that took place between him and Micah Parsons, and then he gets a call from Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons ultimately calls him back and says, don't call me anymore, call my agent. After an agreement was reached, you guys appear to be diametrically opposed in terms of your interpretation of what transpired. Break down for the audience exactly what transpired. What was Micah Parsons talking to Jerry Jones about? What actually happened that had Jerry Jones get to a point where he believed the negotiation was completed before somebody like yourself got in the way, per se?
Definitely, as far as Micah's concerned, he was out of the country. He got a call from Jerry's assistant and was asked to come in to meet about leadership. So when he got back from his vacation, he came in and he gave him a call, told him he was back, he was ready to meet. At some point during that meeting that was represented to him was going to be about leadership, it turned into contract talk. And, if you're a 25-year-old football player and your boss, who happens to be the most powerful person in the NFL, starts talking about contracts, it's hard for you to end that conversation. So they had a conversation. Micah nodded his head out of respect. Obviously, there's a power dynamic that's a little different there. One guy is the owner of the team and the GM, and the other one is Micah Parsons, a young 25-year-old football player. So I'm not sure if there was a miscommunication there by the time Micah walked out, but at no point did Micah believe that he was negotiating a contract.
So with that being said, what was the issue, or what has been the issue, or has there ever been an issue between you and Jerry Jones where it would seem very, very simple? You're one of the most influential agents in the world, clearly the most powerful in the NFL in the eyes of many. It makes no sense to a lot of us why Jerry Jones would refrain from wanting to talk to you to a point where he's almost willing to lose, or actually literally willing to lose, Micah Parsons, rather than sit down and have a negotiation with you. What is that about?
I think that was the part for us that was the most confusing, right? I understand Jerry's always going to do what's best for the Cowboys, and we get that, right? His job is to do what's best for the team and put them in the best situation to win. In this situation, once Micah asked for his representation to be involved, we assumed that that would go like any other negotiation, and they would reach out, or they would allow me to reach out and commence negotiations. But I can't answer that question. I'm not sure how this turned the way it did. We were open to negotiate. We reached out numerous times to Adam Periska there, who does their contracts. I've reached out to Stephen Jones as well and asked him, to start negotiations. But for some reason, coming out of that conversation, Jerry believed that he had reached an agreement and he was not open to negotiating any further.
What does that say to you about where the industry is to some degree? I'm thinking about you are an elite agent. You represent a bevy of clients in the National Football League. It seems clearly understandable to the point where the NFLPA, the NFL itself, should be involved if somebody is refusing to talk with a player's representation. What do you say about the state of affairs that exists as it pertains to that issue, and unwillingness to talk to an agent? What does that mean to you? How do you absorb that?
I honestly don't take it personal. Like I said, I think Jerry's job has always been to do what's best for the Cowboys, right? This never turned personal for myself or for Micah, right? This is another negotiation. We didn't understand why they wouldn't talk to his agent, since I would say probably 99% of the contracts that are done across the NFL are done with player representation. This day and age, contracts have gotten to a point where they're so, convoluted. There's a lot that goes into them, from guarantee structure to APY to signing bonuses to cash flow. So to expect somebody like Micah Parsons to be one of the best defenders in the NFL and also a great lawyer when it comes to contracts, I think it's a bit unfair. His job is to go out there and chase quarterbacks, and our job is to go out there and chase commas for him. So, I'm not sure exactly why it went this way, but we were always prepared and open to negotiate a contract with the Jones family.
Are you an advocate of the NFLPA getting involved to a point where they're probing into this situation in terms of a refusal by an owner or by an executive, or in Jerry's case, he says the GM of the Dallas Cowboys refusing to really talk with you and negotiate a deal? Do you expect, anticipate, or even hope that the NFLPA will get involved in probing this issue?
My expectation is that the NFLPA, that's what they're there for, right? To protect player rights. So I would assume that they'd want to look into this, but, as far as how they do that and how they operate, it's a little bit above my head.
What about your concern, because you represent George Pickens as one of the clients that you represent, one of your clients. He's on the Dallas Cowboys right now. He's approaching a contract year. You had an issue as it pertained to Micah Parsons in terms of your communication with the boss of the Dallas Cowboys. What are you anticipating when it comes to George Pickens?
Yeah, my partner Trayvon Smith and I represent George, and again, we've talked about that over and over again. There's nothing personal here, right? It's a business transaction.